All right.
Now I just lost it. Oh my gosh. What a night. I lost it in the shuffle. All right. I'd like to call to order the meeting of October 6th for the Monona Community Media Committee. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting?
I'll move.
Who was that?
Katie.
Was it Katie? And is
Yep.
there a second?
Second.
Second. Any changes? No. All in, and the minutes are approved as moved. No appearances tonight. Is that still accurate, Will?
Correct.
And then unfinished business, we've got some strategic planning discussion. And by that, I think we're talking about like adopt a what and the awareness / branding, or was there something else you had thought about?
Anything, I guess anything we thought we needed to discuss. I didn't have any specific plans. I didn't know what, if anything, we wanted to discuss moving forward.
I think we've got, so the budget submission, obviously that's finished. The newsletter is on its way and it's up and running great. PSAs are running great. And we can get a report out from those two subgroups right now, or we can do that later. We just haven't yet really dug into a larger conversation about fundraising, branding, awareness, things like that, whether that be the Adopt a Walk campaign or whether it be, you know, the Friends of VMO integration. Why don't we, do you mind if we, I mean, I know at council we're like, is there a motion to take the agenda item out of order and we can move to discuss something else in the agenda if we'd like to. It might be easier just to stick with the low hanging fruit, which is to jump ahead to the review of the PSA samples and the October newsletter, and then perhaps come back to adopt a what, awareness, branding, and fundraising. How does that sound? Does that sound okay? All right. So do we want to just jump in then and talk about the newsletter? I see Anita's in the gallery here. She could
Yes.
probably just let us know.
Yes, I'm here. And yeah, so tomorrow I'll send out the request for submissions for the October newsletter. So if any of you have any ideas or submissions, let me know. I'll do the usual of curating from the usual places on my own and then wait for submissions to come in. I know the South Winnequa Road should be done by mid-October, so maybe there can be a nice little recap of that.
That's
Hopefully.
definitely the first thing on everyone's mind. It's funny how that is.
Yes, and maybe some photos from the fall festival to show something like that.
Anita, we have do we not have a breathing document where people can submit their ideas for newsletter articles?
I do have a spreadsheet that I know I've shared it with you and Will. And
can you throw that into the chat of this meeting again so that anybody who doesn't have that yet can just.
I could, but there's not a chat allowed for this. So I could maybe tomorrow in the email I send out requesting submissions, I can put a link to it.
I'm reminded now, Will, did you say that the chat feature has been disabled? Intentional?
Yeah, just to make it easier on everybody, so we don't have more public records of more things we have to store and make sure we have, if anyone does an open records request for anything, essentially is what that's all about.
I could email it to all of you after the meeting too.
Yeah, I am, yeah, it'd just be nice to, so but are people updating that? I guess that's my question. Does everyone know that we're free to do that? And Anita, are you getting what you need?
On a monthly basis, yes, but I can share that spreadsheet and others because it has the months planned out, the months ahead planned out, so you can add ideas for the spring
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
So
All right. And then, is there anything more you'd like to discuss about the newsletter for this month?
no, things are going. We have a good system going with Amanda and Will. So I don't have any concerns or anything else to share unless Will or Amanda do.
Okay. Why don't we then move on to reviewing the PSAs? Do we have a committee report on that? Is Dave with us today? I don't see him among our members. Maybe I don't have the, there he is. There he is. I just had my screen adjusted.
He is here.
Hi, Dave. I'm sorry. I
Hello.
didn't have all of my participants visible. There you go.
So I have, I've never done this before. I've never written PSAs or anything like that, but my grand plan was to develop, and I have drafted a form where people can submit PSAs, much sort of similar to what Anita has for getting ideas related to the newsletter. And then my goal is to create sort of a library of existing scripts and sort of go from there. So I have drafted, I don't know, a half dozen of them, and I recorded myself and I sent them to Will just to kind of get his feedback to see if I was on the right track. So that's where I sort of sit today. So it seems that as soon as I volunteer for something, I get busy, and I was hoping to have more accomplished by now, but I think I'm off to a good start, and I'll just keep plugging along.
Well, I also think it can just be a lot of work for one person. You know, and we've got, you know, Anita and Amanda sort of working together with Will. Are you to the point where you think a helper would be helpful, or do you think it would be just easier to do it yourself?
No, I think I got a pretty good handle
Okay.
on it.
Okay.
And I'll reach out if I need specific things.
Okay. And
Yeah, I
then
mean,
Dave,
if I may, I would say the help could come when we need voices. And you've gotten,
Okay.
you know, we have a handful of, you know, a baker's dozen of these PSAs to get out all of us who are willing to come in and record, so we have different voices.
okay. For sure. Is your work plan or your schedule flexible to just like insert? I mean, is there a document where I can can we all look at what you've been writing, or are you saving that in a shared location?
Yeah, I hope I
Not the script. I'm not asking to see the script.
oh,
There's no need for me or anyone else to proofread. I'm sure you're quite competent. I'm just wondering, like, just the subject matter that the PSA addresses, is that listed in a place?
No, I don't know where we keep public, like, I don't know where the newsletter spreadsheet is held. If I knew that, I could save all this stuff in the shared folder. Do we have a shared folder?
I would like us to have one. Right now, we're just sharing documents, and every person is kind of keeping their own shared version. Will, can we
yeah, I
make
can
that happen?
put, yep, I can work on that.
Yeah, and just have a folder, and then all of us would have access to the folder and all of its contents.
Yep.
But to answer your question, currently I have the PSA topics, I've just been working on general things that could be played at any time. Slowing down, stopping at stop signs, construction zones, locking your cars and doors, talking about Monona police cars being hybrid vehicles, sustainable, and texting and driving. That's what I have so far.
All good stuff. Is there anything anything timely for the season, like safe trick-or-treating best practices, or does Monona have any sort of, I saw an app on Nextdoor where people can sort of upload their address, letting the world know that they are accepting trick-or-treaters. I don't know if we need that level of technology in our lives, but I mean, who knows? It might be nice. But there certainly are like safe trick-or-treating practices or dates and times when the city will have trick-or-treating, and that's probably part of the newsletter too. I'm sure it's like on the 31st itself, right? It usually always is.
Yep, I believe, 4 to 7, and actually I'll
4 to
send that
7,
out. The
okay.
police chief sent some information out
Okay,
earlier this week about that.
okay.
One thing that might be nice is, I don't know if anyone has heard of the Teal Pumpkin Project. That might be something that's good for the radio, is that if you have like people who, I wanted to say students, kids who have like food allergies or anything like that, that you have something that's not food related. So you give away pencils or stickers or something, and you're supposed to like designate your house as a teal with a teal pumpkin. So that might be something quick and easy and kind of creative you could put on the radio.
I have heard of that before. I completely forgot about it. Thank you, Katie. So like,
Yeah, and those are, and the timely ones are the tough ones, right? Like I think
Yeah.
when we were talking with Dave, or at least when I was, it was having a stockpile of general ones,
Okay.
public safety general ones, so that they were kind of timeless and legacy files, if you will, so that we can actually run them off and on for like years, as opposed to more timely ones, because those are just certainly need them. They're just, those are the hard ones logistically to make happen. I'm not saying we shouldn't, we absolutely should, but that would take somebody willing to write it and then come in and record it, like,
absolutely.
next week. Which I hope to do, and I want to do. I just kind of want to make sure there's a understanding there that if we do go timely, that we know that there's a bigger commitment of urgency, I guess.
Understood.
This one wouldn't be
So-
ready yet, sorry, but Dave, if you want to make a note, the school store might be something good that people would like to know, like the hours that the school store is open and where in Cottage Grove you can get like Silver Eagles gear. It's not, I wouldn't say it's ready yet, but that'd be something in the future that would be long-term, we could keep on for a pretty long time, like a
It's a great
commercial
idea.
almost. So
Yep.
just remind me, just ping me in like 6 weeks, maybe.
Okay,
They got a new DECA advisor, so they're just kind of trying to figure out the new school store.
okay.
So in the next couple of weeks, we got dates and times for trick-or-treating, Teal Pumpkin Project. Is there anything else that we could do for Halloween? I mean, I just have like some suggestions for autumn in general, but not necessarily for Halloween. But if anyone has a Halloween suggestion, fire away.
So Teresa, I would just add, I think it's important, the comment that Will was making, because these are kind of like, did you call those bumps before, when we would come in and give our name and say,
Mhm.
The liners, yeah.
yeah. So this is similar. So as soon as you put a time frame into it, and autumn is, I think, easier than like one date.
Yeah.
They have to adjust how they play those, which is, if you give him 10 of those, that's a ton of extra work. So I think maybe to start with, we should, so I'm trying to understand what our role is. And it sounds like you're asking us to suggest to Dave ideas for for the,
Or possible
PSA.
PSAs, yep.
Okay,
And then ideally, we'd have volunteers to record them, as Will mentioned.
okay. And again, that's generally easy. All you have to
Okay.
do is,
Mhm.
right, Will, are we still, you just go up to the radio station and somebody's up there, or are you all virtual?
Yeah, I mean, the first part is the script, and that takes a little bit of doing, right? And then the second part is finding the schedules of everybody that fits, that we can go, okay, yeah, I can be there then, and you can be there, let's do it.
Well, don't you do them like you did the other things? You just record them and then play them? Or do we?
Yeah,
are
that's
you-
what I mean, like finding a time to meet at the station and record. Sometimes, that
Right.
can be tricky because
So-
everything's busy.
So you can actually go up to the station and do, let's say Dave has given us like the list. Again, he gave us this list. It's in the packet.
Has
So we can-
anyone already recorded a PSA on this group? I know I've recorded several. Anita has not. Lois, you've not recorded a PSA before? Okay, so yeah. So what Susan is, so what I'm curious, Will, at one point we were recording virtually. There was not the need to be in person at the station. Is that still an option that might make it easier for folks to volunteer?
Yeah, that's certainly an option. I mean, it's preferred to get a good quality recording,
Okay,
but
Okay,
that said, I mean, if that's gonna hinder the process and we lose out on 6 or 7 timely PSAs, no, then we do what we need to do to get it done. Like if someone writes a Halloween one and we can't, and it's a week before Halloween and we can't get in the studio together, well, yeah, absolutely. Let's just find a time to be on Zoom and get it done.
So Will, how many, like right now, we have a nice list of samples. We have 6. What's your kind of goal? Do you want a certain number a month, or do you want a certain total number? Or what would you
Yeah,
like?
that's a good, I mean, I think Dave, starting with kind of like the public safety aspect is big, because that's part of our FCC license, is to broadcast with public safety as one of our initiatives and goals. So continuing to stockpile those, and it's always hard for me to be like, we need 24, we need 10. I mean, if you think about it, we air one of these, they air 4 or 5 times a day for however many days we run it. So let's say we run it for 5 days and it runs 4 times, it's 20 times in a week. And then maybe we give it a break for a couple weeks or whatever, or 3 weeks, then we run it again. And it's ongoing all year. And then we do it, you know what I mean? So it's quite a bit. So I mean, I'd love to have as many as we can. Maybe 2 a month is the goal for public safety type of, or just in general type of PSAs. I mean, adopt a storm drain would be another one.
So if you're looking at 2 a month, then you're looking at generally a total of 24.
Yeah, of just kind of like your legacy files that are
Okay.
all year,
So-
anytime,
So ideally,
for the most
based
part.
on what we have in front of us, you'd like Dave and or the committee to assist with like another 18 or so over the next year. Right?
Yeah, right. That would be kind of like your baseline. If you can do more, awesome. I mean, I correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, but I've always envisioned it like, I've always thought to myself, like, okay, I got to find time to go on the website and find some of this information that I know is general, that I know people need to know, but we got to get it, write it in a way that's kind of fun and clever, and then record it.
So do we want to, the other way I think we could expand some of these, I think having a theme like public safety is just great because that gives us a really good start. But the other thing we might want to talk about are basically things in this community that are great, that are really great and things are doing. So let's say we do one on the senior center, we do one on the library. We, during the summertime, we do one on the pool. we talk about walking in this community, because a lot of people are now walking. Things, just starting to find themes and
Yep. Yeah, I mean, all those things, and they can be somewhat seasonal. I mean, if, you know, there's certainly things that are seasonal, but in a sense, it's general in that for 3 months, we can run it off and on, you know, that
oh,
type.
again, you can do one on where to find a park, where to find a playground in a park. I mean, again, that's a piece that, I mean, if you drive by any of these, okay.
Well, in theory, you could like do the holiday ones too, like maybe for Halloween, this is too close, but like have some of the seasonal weather ones just kind of redone so you can reuse them over the years, right?
What's that? Yeah, you can have a banana.
I just shared out the project
Oops, thought I muted
list.
myself.
And on the bottom, there has always been just these tabs that have just been sitting blank. I just threw them out there for a placeholder, and I just never really came back and started filling them in. But Dave, if you would like to use this document, on the bottom, there's a tab for PSAs. Sounds like Anita and Amanda have their own newsletter list, and that's totally fine. It doesn't have to all be under one spreadsheet, but that was kind of my idea, that we would just have one big document. But like the PSAs, I'm thinking like the category, the topic, the date to run, and who records it. We wouldn't have, I don't, there's no need to micromanage the writing of the script. Is something you are more than capable of handling, but at least to understand, like, when are we going to do this? And, you know, and I think starting with the topic, like Susan
Like what
said, is
topics have
really,
been covered, right?
yeah, and starting with what Susan brings is really where you start. You think about all there is, and then you figure out when the best year, what month would be best, you know, and what is there to say about it. That's kind of what I'm envisioning, and there might be something else that, Dave, that you'd want to add to such a plan.
Okay.
Yeah, but that column recorded by is what we need to
Yeah.
fill in. I am happy
If-
to record at any time. And maybe there are tips or tricks for getting a good recording from home that I could benefit from learning about. I want to be mindful of sharing this opportunity with other people who don't normally record PSAs, though. That's the only thing that's stopping me from volunteering. I feel like,
Well, that's a good
already
point
done
too.
it.
We certainly don't have to like have a Zoom together. If someone's comfortable just like going on Zoom and recording themselves, or have a software on their computer, you could do that too.
oh yeah,
And I would add to the public safety maybe, and Dave, just see how that fits, but maybe one about school buses. Or the crossing guards. I know we had a few issues relatively recently about, you know, people get confused about what you need to see to have to stop, or can you still go around? And, you know, maybe we just keep reminding people, because they keep going around while the kids are crossing. So, and again, Katie may have some really good ideas, because she's the one who gets everything kind of dumped in her lap.
I see what you're saying, Susan. Yeah, no, that's a very good reminder that.
Well, thank you. I will keep plugging away and writing some more scripts. Regarding Halloween specifically, tomorrow I'm actually leaving for London for a week.
That's fantastic.
out for until the following Sunday. I don't think I will be able to write and coordinate Halloween PSAs. I don't want to say I will and then not end up being able to do it. So I'd rather just be upfront and say I'm not going to be able to do that.
Understandable.
I would be happy to do a Halloween PSA, and I can be happy to do a Teal Pumpkin PSA. I mean, if we're in a crunch, because we probably want, I mean, it's the 6th of October. We probably want these recorded within the next 5 days, right? I'm guessing.
That would be good. And then I should also just add sidebar. If somebody writes something like a Halloween safety one, that would be good for the Chief Cheney to read. So if somebody
That's a
wrote
good
a script, I have no
That's a good
problem reaching
point.
out to people and saying, you know, who fits this? You know, Aline, this is a voting one. Let's go to Aline. This is a safety one. Let's go find Cheney. I don't have mind reaching out to that. Getting the script written is always like that first hurdle. So
So we can do written by and recorded by. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Will, did you say that there's a email or something from
Yeah.
the chief?
yep.
Good thinking.
If you want to forward that to me, I'd be happy to write something for him to read.
Okay. I mean,
Awesome.
there's not a whole lot, but basically there's a little bit in there that you can have a little fun
Yeah.
with. He's
Yeah,
doing,
that's fine.
they're doing a cool
That's-
little city hall trick or treat stop, and he's going to be dressed up, and so
He's the best. So I was just like looking up this Teal Pumpkin project. That's kind of cool. Food allergy. What is it about awareness? It's excellent. I'll just put it here. There. Okay, great.
so I'm slowly working on this Google Drive that we can just have files in that people can access.
That would be really nice. Yeah.
Just tracking down people's emails, and then I'll send it while we're here so we can all.
I'm gonna add, and then we'll just spend maybe a couple more minutes on this and then we'll move on. But something for autumn that I'll add is keeping leaves out of the street.
Yep.
So that they don't go down into the storm drain and into lake. Yeah.
And if you read, I think it's fun that you read Dave's, he had some fun with it. So I'm always trying to talk people into, especially like department heads and council members and committee members, they get pretty fired up about exact wording and everything's got to be on message and talking points have to be there. But the ones Dave put together are like, that's WVMO, right? Have a little fun with it, get the main point across, but you don't need to add every detail and make sure the talking points are there. Getting people the information and say, go to mymonona.com for more information. That, you know, that's kind of the goal, to entertain them too.
When do we want? So Katie, will you just coordinate then? You're gonna write up something for the dates and hours of trick or treating and the rules of the city for that,
Yeah.
safety and all that stuff. So Will's gonna forward the email from the chief. All right. And then Katie, are you also gonna reach out to the chief to ask him to record it? Or who
I'd
needs
be
to do
happy
that?
to. It's up to,
Okay.
I mean, I'd be happy to do that if Will
Yeah.
wants, or if it's easier for Will, because he'll be scheduling the time in the studio, that's fine too.
That's a good point. That's a
Yeah.
good point. Whatever Will, yeah.
Yeah, and if he's not available, you know, it sounds to me like you have lots of volunteers who'd be ready to come in.
Yep.
So, me too. And if I think of anything school related, I'll, especially the longer ones, I'll keep thinking about it.
And getting into the
Um,
studio scheduling isn't terrible. I mean, between Brendan and I, we were able to make it happen pretty quick.
Yeah.
Also, for anything school related, if you come up with topics, I'd be more than happy to read several PSAs if that works for people.
That would be awesome. And you
Yeah,
could do it in this, you could do it at school. You could do it in the studio at school. Yeah. I'll definitely have you do the school store one, but we have to get it set up first.
Yeah, and Lois, I should say, like, if you have anything, we can record at the school. So
Yeah.
you don't have to come to the radio station, you just pop down quick. And same if you have ideas or things that maybe other students in school want to record. Yeah, please spread the word, because we always have a hard time getting that word out and getting students in. It's a hard one.
Yeah, definitely.
that's fantastic. All right. So we've got newsletter under control. Anita's going to share that file. PSA's got a little brainstorm list flowing there. We've got a couple for Halloween. Katie's going to take the lead on the safety. Is there anyone in the group here that would like to look up a little bit more about the Teal Pumpkin project and maybe write something up? No?
I mean, I can do that too, since I brought it up.
I just wonder about, like, it'd be really touching too to have a kid that has like food sensitivities, like recording, you know, because we sometimes forget about that. Halloween's not fun for everybody.
Yeah. Or Will, are there any, like, I know you have a lot of people from the community. Is there anyone from like UW Health or Dean even who you know of that we could ask? Otherwise, I'm sure we could find a student.
At the school, you mean?
No, just who's done PSAs in the past.
Oh, hold on one second.
I've totally been there.
I could ask my sister. She works at the UW hospital and she works in the NICU with little kids and things like that. So be a little bit stretch. She's like,
Yeah.
I don't know, but we can do it on Zoom. We'll see what she says.
Yeah.
But maybe she'd be like, sure, I'll do it. I don't care.
Yeah.
Are you saying like people who would be willing to voice stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Like, yeah,
There is
scour the earth, because
there is a woman.
that's always what
Yeah.
we're trying to get, is more voices, right? If you listen
Yeah.
to radio, it's like the same like 9 people
Yeah.
constantly.
Yeah.
I can flip through my internal Rolodex too and just try to think if I know of anyone. Lois, I'm sure you don't know what that is. I'm sorry, I'm aging myself.
Rolodex. Yeah, I didn't think about that until you said that, Kate. All right. Is there anything more that we should say about the PSAs or the newsletters, or are we ready to move on to bigger, meatier topics? We should revisit, I think, for something that we started last meeting, which was kind of toward the end of the meeting. We were talking about fundraising. We were talking about Friends of VMO, talking about, we're getting into some weeds with 501(c)(3)s and branding, and just being a very, a bigger discussion to be had sometime down the road. Is this topic something that would lend itself better to like an initial sort of high-level introduction here, and then maybe a subgroup to people that have done this before that maybe want to work out some details to present to the group? Or Will, is there a thought you have about how we might go about this?
Like kind of all those topics yeah,
maybe just the friends is sort of a little different, right?
yeah. Thank you. They're not sharing. I think that the fundraising is going to be the longest range, like, figure out, because I don't want to, right, the challenge of not getting messy between the friends and us, and then underwriting on the station and sponsorship is a big deal in the sense that we can't do it and make more work for ourselves and then have to use the money to basically pay somebody to do the underwriting. And then we're basically paying someone to just kind of, you know what I mean? So I haven't even flushed that out in my head. So I'm open for like open dialogue and talking about it and making sure that if we were to move forward, it makes sense for everybody in every organization and just in general. I think we struggle enough to have the Friends of VMO as an organization, let alone try to open up another 501c3 and have enough people to, and that's just like, I know we didn't talk about that. I just want to throw that out there. That
Not
that's like a whole
interested,
nother.
not interested. Yeah, no, not interested. So does the question then really become, how do we support the Friends group? We don't
Perhaps,
want to
right?
reinvent the wheel. I don't think any of us do. But perhaps are there ways we could support them?
And we could, I think maybe inviting Mark to the meeting and whoever else from the Friends. I mean, Joe's already here most of the time, and to have a discussion. It's my understanding that they kind of want to step down from the Friends group, which would then be not too many people involved with the Friends group. So I think just garnering support in some way, it would just bodies in general, I feel like is a help.
Is Sue Carr the lead on the Friends group? Or is that Jennifer Kerr?
It's Sue Carr. So Jen helped out for a few months, kind of helped get everything a little more organized in the Treasury department, and then treasurer, excuse me, and then Sue is then she kind of handed it off, and Sue is taking it from here. And then now we have, you guys who live in Monona, I think it's also, I'm interested in kind of hearing about what you think this committee could do for community media, and or what community media could do with the help of this committee that you feel residents would benefit from. As part of, I think, what Brennan and I sit around and think about is, okay, what are we doing? What's our return? Are we getting a return? Are we just doing it because we're doing it? Or, should we be doing something else? Not everything we do is so tangible. Certainly could use some help there if we feel like that's something we want to do.
Is that something that, is that something that you're bringing up in addition to the topics that we brainstormed for the project lists?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to muddy the water, I guess.
No, that's okay. Yeah.
Just more so that I know there's a bunch of residents on the committee, and I'm totally open for people to say, you know what, you guys do this, and I don't even know if I'd bother doing that, but here's some cool ideas that I think residents would climb onto. And again, this can be a longer discussion for later or whatever, nothing serious that we want to maybe act on. I just want to open the door to let people know they can email me or say it in a meeting or whatever. And Brennan and I are very receptive to those ideas because we want to do what residents want,
Right. So I think suffice it to say that project list that I sent out is a living document, and more things can be added to it, right? Well, like someone else has a great idea to amplify the point that you just brought up. We're not limited to just the, half a dozen, 5 things that we came up with earlier, the newsletter, budget, Adopt a Watt campaign, PSAs. So Adopt a Watt is the same thing as supporting working with the Friends of VMO, right?
Correct.
That's, I mean those interchangeably.
Correct.
So do we have do you know, Will, when the Adopt a Watt campaign is intended to really get fired up? I know that you already sent out some.
So it's just it's like ongoing. It's ever since the Friends started, which was, 4 years ago or whatever, we've just been selling watts and adopting watts, and essentially you adopt a watt for $250 the first year, and then and then you renew for $100 every year after that, and it's just a living, breathing deal, and we just keep going, and either you renew your watt or you don't. But we just keep having people adopt, similar to bricks on a patio.
So there's not really like a drive. There's like, you have like a membership drive for like 3 weeks of the year. There's not really like a targeted, these 3 weeks of the year, we're all in Adopt-A-Watt mode.
Right. No, we don't really do like, the WPS membership drive type of thing. No.
And maybe this is something to talk to the friends about, like, would it be more successful if it was just a blitz, like just a saturation of the airways for like 2 solid weeks or 3 weeks once a year? I don't know.
Right. Well, and I think we stayed away from that because we don't want to annoy the listeners either. I mean, I love WPR, but I do get a little frustrated. Like, I'm like, oh, it's the week of the fundraising. Now I gotta now I'm changing the channel this week. Sorry, I do my fundraising for you, but I don't want to hear about it all week long.
Although, does it work? I mean,
clearly it works for them.
Do they achieve their goal? I mean, it annoys us, but it's a temporary annoyance. And if they get the money they're looking for, maybe that's a proven method of doing it. I don't know.
Yeah, I think they definitely have it down for sure.
Dozens and dozens of people all recording PSAs for 1 week solid. Like, here's what WVMO means to me. Here's why we need it. Here's why your help is so important. Here's, the chief of this and the chief of that and the mayor and, students and, everybody. And who knows, it might be, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly,
maybe there's,
it could be right. Like, let's try it and see what feedback we get and see if we get.
If you adopt a watt, is there like a place that someone's name is listed publicly, like on a website page even?
I don't think there's like a document that says, hey, here you are. And the tricky part of that is because if they don't renew it, well, then they don't necessarily own it anymore. So that's how it kind of works, as this revolving door where we can kind of keep adopting watts, because you're essentially just donating to the station. And you're adopting a watt, but that's essentially just kind of how we're working our sponsorship or fundraising efforts.
I do wonder if that would incentivize certain people just being or it's interesting to me. And then the other one, I did think that maybe at some point, to your point, Teresa, about maybe more of like a blitz, is like, should the main story on the newsletter maybe twice a year be like the main story under the headline, like
it's Adopt-A-Watt season. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, does NPR, do they do it once a year or twice a year?
Well, I think they do like once a month. They do like, or I don't know. I'm trying to figure out, because it was just last week, because I was switching around last week because I was getting frustrated. But and I get it. And I felt like it just seemed like it was not but too long ago before that too. But they maybe just do like a fall drive and a spring drive or something like that. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Sounds like Katie has a question.
Just a observation that, I mean, I understand that VMO is the radio station and Adopt-A-Watt is specifically for WVMO, but it's like a little bit of a slippery slope, right? Because Parks and Rec has the buy a tree, adopt a storm drain. Like, there are other fundraising, and I feel like the other departments might be like, oh yeah, great idea. Let's start doing fundraising on the radio. And then it becomes this like constant thing, like Will is saying, like on public radio, that it's just nonstop. But maybe it's like a cycle that everybody gets, a day, a month or something, or however long, but it's not the only department that does fundraising. So the senior center certainly.
Well, we have a friends group, which is a 501c for the senior center. The library does major fundraising. I think Katie's thought is really, really important, and that we have to be fair about how we use our accessible communication. Because then do you let the, Diane come talk about the senior center and Brian talk about the library? Oh, plus the firemen have a foundation. I'm just saying, I think, and Katie probably has a good feel for that. Where are the parameters on that?
Well, I agree. Those are good points. I mean,
I don't think it's a stopping point, right? Like, I
Yeah,
think it's just
yeah.
something, it's a consideration as we move forward of how to keep all those things in mind, right? The education foundation would probably love having some time in there. And, there's just a lot of great community, community organizations in general, but even just related to the schools and the booster clubs and, Model UN would, I'm sure, love, or other groups at the schools, right? So just a way to be more equitable for all of those, even though maybe that's just the newsletter, right? Because the radio station maybe gets to do WVMO Adopt a Watt only. I don't know, but just a thought to make sure that
Well,
we're keeping
actually, and while you're to that point, all those organizations we're talking about are nonprofits, which are really easy for us to help promote. So when we talk about writing PSAs, I don't think we have a problem with saying, let's write a PSA for every nonprofit in Monona that's trying to help every organization in Monona. And, if we have 10 of them and we run them one at a time, there's a lot of PSAs that run each day. There's 12 PSAs every day that run. So if we have one that runs for 4 days, another one runs for 4 days, we won't really beat people over the head with nonprofits to donate to. Could people who love VMO argue that the Adopt a Watt program is maybe getting drowned out? But at the same time, it's, it could be that's part of who we are, is to make sure people know how to support their community.
Another way, instead of just having it be entirely focused on the radio station and like that, like still having Adopt a Watt be mainly on radio, but like what Amanda said, using the newsletter as like a headline of the Adopt a Watt while that's going on, but also using social media, and because that way it can be spread a little bit more, because I do know so many other teens who like do know of WVMO because it is such a major part of the Monona community, that way you can kind of spread it and get it further, and so it doesn't have to be only focused on the radio station, so you don't overwhelm and like drown out a bunch of information onto people.
That's a great idea about Facebook. Like getting help on Facebook to share things is a great idea.
I think Dave's had his hand up for a while.
My only point was, the Adopt a Watt program has generated a lot of obviously a lot of money for the Friends of WVMO, but to my knowledge, there's never been a general Friends of WVMO campaign where we're just asking for funds to support the station in return for nothing other than please support the station you're listening to. Right. So I think while the Adopt a Watt was beneficial, it is sort of clunky to execute, and there's a lot of attention to detail and getting what we're promising people for their donation. And that kind of stalls a lot of output of reminding people to adopt or renew. And so we were doing that, and things would come in chunks, but we weren't doing it constantly. So there may be some thought or discussion of creating a campaign like the Friends of the Library, the Friends of whatever else, of a general campaign for the Friends of WVMO, just for listeners to help support the station, where we could have a mailing list or an email list periodically. But I think hinging everything, all the fundraising for WVMO to just the Adopt the Watt campaign, I think that those legs may have walked the majority of their miles already.
Some great
Yeah,
points, Dave.
yeah, I totally agree, Dave. I think also $250 a year is out of reach for a lot of families, and a lot of families with like young kids, and an auto renewal at it's maybe it's whatever, it's $20 a month or something, but it's not I don't know, it doesn't sound completely affordable for a lot of young families. So if there's like, hey, you can Venmo the radio station $5, like that might be really great.
Right.
And I think, and that option exists, like we have, there is a donate whatever you can button on there. But I think that putting together a general campaign for fundraising for WVMO and model it after whatever other departments are doing just for those general things, maybe something worthwhile to look at.
Yeah, your point of there's a lot in return for the Adopt-A-Watt is part of the challenge, right? Like, I think if we did it over again, we would have just did what Amanda did, and you get your place on the website, it says your name and here's your watt. But we promised all these things of a Facebook post and a day on the radio, and like, so now we have to do all these things, and we really need to go back to, you don't get anything in return. You're supporting because you want to support, not because you get something out of it.
I feel like maybe I'm confusing maybe I don't understand. Dave brought up this delineation between Adopt-A-Watt and then some other fundraiser. And
just donating to donate, just like, I don't have 250 to give you for a watt, or even 100 to renew my watt, but I'll give you $50 this year.
well, you know what, and maybe this is not for this committee, maybe this is strictly for the Friends to do, but in supporting the Friends, I mean, maybe we support them with our ideas or suggestions, I don't know, but I keep coming back to like WPR. Why can't we just do what WPR does? I mean, they have different levels that you can donate at, like you could donate at the 5 watt, the 50 watt, the megawatt, you can like give your donations a different name. Like at the megawatt membership level, we have, this is what you get, your name on a plaque, your name on your Facebook post. At this level, I mean, and it could just, and since we're a radio station, I think we have the right, and I think the expectation in the community would not be, I don't think it would be outrageous to say that we sort of like take over for a couple days. It doesn't exclude anyone else from, bringing their, like, Will, you talk about the nonprofits that, the station would be happy to support. But we're the radio station. So there's like, if you think about like WPR, like what did they do,
Oh, Teresa, you are right on point. I think there are two things there. So for instance, the Friends for the Senior Center raise funds for the senior center. That's basically where their funds go. And by broadening that thought about Adopt-A-Watt to anyone, you don't have to buy a watt. So when we send out letters, we get a significant number of letters back with $25.
Yeah.
Which from 100 people, and we've just earned that one difficult person that was on the fence for the 250. And I agree that, that suggestion. Here's the other issue that confronts you, is that you don't have the 501c. So these other groups do. So if I donate $100 to the Friends of the Senior Center, plus the letter gives me, and that's exactly what kind of Dave was talking about, that letter gives me some idea of where those funds are going to go, how you're going to use them. And it may be a different letter every year. So again, as I think this is a step process, and that was kind of what I was hearing from you. It's kind of like making a grid and saying our goal is to expand the support program for the radio station.
Right.
The other thing that came up before was it's only and I think right now that's kind of the safe area to be in. It's only supporting the radio station. And there are a lot of community members, and this came up in our discussion before, who strongly support the cable piece and the studio at the high school and that kind of thing. So I would start simple
Yeah.
with the radio, and then maybe talk to Mark Houtecker about forming a 501c. I'm trying, you could ask Diane Mickelbank, who formed that for us,
Are the Friends a 501c? The Friends already are, right?
of the seniors. The
No, I'm
seniors.
talking about the Friends of WVMO. Aren't they a proper?
I thought they were not. They
Oh,
are.
I don't know.
Yes, the Friends
just-
are a
I was just
501c.
Oh, they
Well,
are, okay.
Then we just need to look at what the constraints of,
Yeah.
if the constraints are general 501c, Adopt a What is just one system you use to raise money, like selling
Exactly.
t-shirts.
Exactly.
And you
Exactly.
could, and then again, I think that's a nice idea. And I think that was a piece of what Dave was talking about too. And that is saying, if you give this amount, this is how you're recognized, you know? And
mean,
then make sure we
yeah.
follow through with that.
I mean, there's a lot of like that tiered giving, like you don't have to give up $250. You
Right.
can give $5.
That's right.
And you're still going to be recognized. And then we broaden, like, I think maybe this is what you're getting at, Susan, like we're broadening sort of like community ownership, community engagement. Like I only paid $5, but I got 1 watt, you know, and this other person has a kilowatt or a megawatt or whatever watt you want to call it. I don't know if that's really what you call it.
Monona Bank or BMO
Yeah,
or
we
any
have
of
a
the other
gold
local
sponsor,
areas.
a silver sponsor.
Yeah, who are
Yeah.
sponsors
Yeah.
for a lot of these groups within this community
Mhm.
to feel they have to buy a watt,
Right.
you know, versus Hamburg. Yeah, I mean, there's
Yeah,
a
right.
group of community support pieces.
Yeah, lowering the threshold is more inclusive of everyone and makes
So
people
Dave,
get involved.
right now, we don't have anybody who is deeply involved, right? In Adopt a Watt here.
Yeah.
Who's kind of, the person I remember was Sally Buffett.
Yeah.
That was very involved in that. And since we don't have that leadership, and Dave talked to us, would you, I mean, if they've already got the 501c, is that for all the friends of WVMO? And we don't have to
The
read.
501c3 is for the Friends of WVMO, that organization.
Okay.
Okay, so it isn't limited to Adopt a Watt. We can use that to fundraise, right?
We can, yeah, I mean, that's the fundraising tool for the radio station, absolutely.
The Adopt a Watt was a kind of specific thing
It's
that
like,
they were.
it's like a brick, right? You go to a patio and you can buy the brick for $50 and you get your name on it that says
That's right.
Liz and Will love each other 2015 or
yeah.
whatever. It's the
It's-
same
and it's-
exact thing, but
Yes.
using watts instead of bricks.
Well, it's like the library's fundraising event. They
Yeah.
do that big, they didn't do that, but fundraising,
the
event,
library,
like
yeah.
the camp out night, or, I
Right.
mean, and that's basically what WVMO was doing, was Adopt a Watt.
Yeah, and the library has this one big event, and Adopt a Watt could become more like an event rather than just this constant slow in the back. I mean, people could adopt a Watt all year round, of course, but there would be like a drive maybe to really make it more like an event, like a spring drive or a fall drive.
The other thing you said
I
is
think,
other
yeah, I
options.
think getting the friends involved with
options.
what we're all talking about
Exactly.
and letting and helping them, because I think that's what essentially what they need, because they're like us, they're 4 or 5 people. And so if you guys are willing to say, yes, we're willing to give some ideas and start this new initiative, I think they'd probably welcome it. I think
So how about I propose this? It's 6 o'clock, it's after 6. I'm gonna meet with Sue Carr anyway on a completely unrelated matter. I could float some of the ideas that have come out of this meeting with her that, you know, maybe folks from this committee could support an Adopt a Watt initiative. It might look exactly the way it looks right now. It's their choice. It might look a little different. You know, they're sort of the ones that are in charge, but we talked about sort of modeling it like a.
And ask her if they're interested in following through with other more generalized fundraising for WVMO, such as sponsorships or letters to the community or things. Just ask her. She's very skilled in this area. And I think she's been involved in the library. She's been involved in the Education Foundation. You know, she'll have a good feel for this.
And if I can have one self-serving thought, if we're gonna do anything that we're really gonna glom onto, I'd love for it to be, let's finish this cool PSA idea. And if there's anything that, you know what I mean, if there's anything WVMO needs the most, it's content. We are on 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. We're going through content like it's candy, right? And so the more content we can get, the better. I certainly want to raise funds, no question, but if we're willing to really focus in on something, I would love to bring that full circle and say, okay, there's our initiative. And then we, you know, do it again next year or something. And it doesn't have to be just PSAs too. I think we could talk about how we could get other content involved. But that's my thought. Same thing on WVMO. I sent out a newsletter today. Did anybody get it? Were you on the email? You got it?
When did it go out, Will?
This morning,
I didn't have time to really read it,
but you got
but
it.
I saw it was about VMO, and I thought I've got to read that before the meeting.
Okay, good. I always wanted to make sure it went out. So we'll have to get, if people want to be on it, we'll have to get your emails and I can add you on the list. I basically took the Adopt a Watt, people who have adopted a Watt, and the people who have volunteered over the years, and it was like 179 people. But if you want to be on that newsletter, I don't have time to do it a lot. I was just going to do it like quarterly. And it was a way, again, to kind of get a hold of the people who've adopted a Watt and said, thanks for doing that. Here's what we used your money for, you know, so they know that we're actually doing something with it. And then also say, here's what we're up to this summer.
Will, that newsletter went out today. I can circle back with you after the meeting.
And maybe I couldn't have you on there. Like
okay,
I didn't go through and add anybody. I took this long list that Jen Kerr put together in Excel and just copy and pasted it, and it went right over, and it was awesome. But I had no clue who was on it.
Got it.
Other than I know it was volunteers and people who adopted a Watt.
Do we need to? We could wrap things up here, but I'm almost wondering, as far as like an awareness campaign, I feel like a rejuvenated Adopt a Watt campaign could also serve as an awareness campaign. It really should, right? I mean, that's the whole point. WPR talks about the importance of public radio, how it is funded, how it runs, why it's important, you know. That's what this is about, maybe. So branding could be maybe a separate conversation, but to me, Adopt a Watt and awareness almost are the same thing.
Well, again, I think one of the issues here is, do you want to take the concept to the friends of WVMO?
Yeah.
And have Adopt a Watt be one of the projects that they do.
Yeah.
Rather than have the whole fundraising focused on Adopt a Watt. I think you want to sit down with the friends group and say, okay, do you want to keep doing Adopt a Watt? Yes or no? And then what else would you like to do? Do you want to send out letters to the community? Do you want to involve school kids? You know, where do you want to go with this? And where's the leadership that's
Totally agree. Right.
leading that?
I want to
Totally
involve
agree.
more students.
Me too. Yeah. All right. Is there anything else that we have not covered on the agenda tonight that that needs to be covered? I think we've got some to-dos with writing PSAs and getting that to Dave as soon as we can. We're going to receive a list from Anita, her document for the newsletter that she's tracking. I think I saw Will already sent out something already for a shared folder on Google Drive. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
and I
talk to
did,
Sue.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I noticed that I did share a Google Drive with everybody. Now I don't know if, I'm not sure. I think whoever made the documents is gonna have to be the one to put it in the drive. If,
I'll
or you may
upload it.
have to,
Yeah, I'll
or you may
upload
have
it.
to like rename it and make a new one like in the drive. I don't know exactly how that'll work, but I can't just drag things into that drive.
Should Anita just upload her document to the drive, to the folder you just created? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we'll just need
Yeah,
to move
okay.
all those documents that we're referencing right now to that
Got it.
drive. And
Okay,
then anything new you can put in there, but yeah.
got it. Okay. I'll meet with Sue Carr pretty soon, one of these days. If there's anything in particular that anyone here would like me to bring up to her that we haven't already said, just shoot me an email. And again, my message to her will be about the Friends and the work that they do, and asking her how we can support it. And I can share with her some ideas that came about, but in no way are we, they're the deciders, right? It's their show. Is there anything else? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Second,
Motion by Amanda, seconded by Susan, all in favor? Aye.
I,
Let's adjourn. That sounds fantastic. I miss a little bit not having a beer garden to race off to
Sure.
after our meetings. Those were sort of nice.
still nice, a beautiful sunset at San
Oh,
Damiano.
it is, yeah, it really is, yeah. All right, well, I hope everyone's got something fun planned for the night. Good weekend ahead, homecoming. Fingers crossed for no TP in my front yard. All right,
Oh, man, obviously, somebody
I think
on
they already did
Owen,
that
was
last
it on-
night.
was on Owen, just got.
yep,
really-
plastered, yeah, but the police have been out doing a fantastic job keeping it under control, so that's great. All right, folks.
Bye.
Nice seeing
Bye.
everyone.
Thank you.
Guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.